I feel that from a timing perspective of what's going on in the world, it's a great time to raise money for early stage, but even it's a great time to raise money for any idea that I come, because it's going to have elements of what's hot, and that's what I've always done. So if I would have raised money this year, I probably would have been in a position to have to raise more money at the end of the
Yeah.
year, which wouldn't have been great.
For
So I'm
next
glad
year. Yeah,
that I'm glad I'm coming into a cycle where it's going to be an
I
up
agree.
CERN. So I feel good about that.
That we
Today is December. Ooh, normally I do these podcasts on Tuesday, but for some reason Frank's been like really just irresponsible with the scheduling.
It is 7. It's usually when I eat. This is me eating right now.
Yeah, well, it's 2 to 1 here. We don't care if you're eating.
I know, I
So,
know.
December 11th, it is basically 2.5 weeks until the new year. I wanted to do a fun kind of session. We'll keep it quick today. We all are wearing hats, which is interesting too. We call this a hat episode. I've been obsessed with Sunset Boulevard, the play. I've gone 4 times. Clearly, I'm in a messy middle
Four
myself.
times.
4 times. Don't tell anybody. And just gets better every time for me. Just obsessed. But it's a couple of weeks away from a new year, 2.5, as I said. I'm back in Florida for a few days and go to San Francisco this weekend, check out some neighborhoods. But I wanted to ask you guys some questions on creativity. And then if you don't like those ideas of, discussion of creativity and where you get your inspiration during the messy middle, we can talk about, what we're thinking about for the end of the year. But I had a little anecdote that I wanted to say is I met with a friend last week who we haven't had on the podcast, but I want him to go on the podcast for next year. So he built a company, sold it, I think 2-3 years ago at this point already. Must have been for like 3 hundo, and then ended up being $1 billion exit. And we were discussing sort of what his goals are now, and he's only like 41. He's like 40, and he's like, I'm too old. I'm too young. Excuse me. I'm too young to just sit around and do nothing and retire. But he hired a team of like 4 people. They've got this little startup that they're doing. Doesn't really have an office. And I thought it was an interesting approach. And what I was thinking about, and what I wanted to ask you guys twofold, like, where do you get your inspiration during sort of the messy middle? So for me, it's like a lot of concerts, music, going to random Broadway shows, and our sponsor, Sunset Boulevard, this week, clearly. We have all the merch. So that, and then to the point of, on the second point, is there a situation where you guys feel that once you've made a certain amount or done a certain thing, accomplished that, will you ever stop beating yourself up, in either trying to create something new or spending less time working? So twofold questions.
Just some time to think. Creativity. I think I can find inspiration in anything. Literally in anything. Like, it really helps when you disconnect from the everyday work and you do something different that gives you fresh perspectives. But it's a sort of curse. Even like reading a book that's not related to work, mid-page I would realize that this is an idea that I could do something about it or connect it to something else, and then I'm just like, I don't know if it's ADHD or that's how things work, but I can get inspiration or creativity or ideas from literally anything. But the best way, I think, it's just going away from your everyday life for a short period of time. And these bursts throughout the year, they help me get some fresh perspectives and even solve some older problems in the everyday life, not necessarily new ideas. That's what comes to my mind first.
Frank, what about you?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I guess I guess.
So Frank normally has a lot to say. He's thinking. I like this, Teddy. We got to ask more challenging questions to Frank.
I don't know, but it's like HR questions. You know, what's your 5 weaknesses? I'm like, I have no idea what to say to that.
I'd fail all those HR questions.
I'm human. No, but I think, I mean, you guys know me. I've got tons of ideas all the time. So it's I never really ask myself, how do I get inspiration? It just comes. But I guess the thing that triggers me to look for things is problems. So every time I read there's some problem, I guess I match it in my brain with whatever is new. And I'm obsessed with that. And I think the only one who I've seen formulating it the same way as I think of it was the former Google CEO when they did their presentation about Google. And the way I formulate it and the way I would train an AI to be creative is I would say, what can you do today with today's technology that you couldn't do before? And so right now, when there's like things like AI or, you know, blockchain or VR soon and robotics, it's like, wow, it's a whole new universe of thousands and thousands of things that you can be first principle, you know, what is, I don't know, making biscuits with robots and AI, you know, and suddenly you'll be like, oh, that's interesting. Like maybe we can do robot that. Maybe there's a way we can test the biscuits. Like, I don't know, like and then suddenly you're like, okay, that's going to reinvent the whole industry of the biscuits. Like whatever it is, you see how it works. And so to me, it's this match of one problem plus one technology. And so I try to stay on top of whenever I see an article about a technology I like, I always try to run it or to try to play with it so I get a sense of what's possible.
So for me, creativity stems from, usually actually comes from travel, but the arts. It's always been the arts because I never attacked a problem from a technical solution because I'm not technical. But it's always been sort of more of a way to do it in a creative way with constraints. But also because I don't really understand all of the mathematical equations or physics. I didn't do so well in college.
GPT does it now, so you're fine.
You know, it's great, fabulous.
Even the technical things are not. They don't have necessarily technical solutions. It's more creative solutions. Like for programming, to me, it's art. You have to figure out things from nature. From like there's even subcategory there, like design patterns, how you structure something. It's creative work.
Yes, yes. Technical. And we can always cite I always love how cliche it is. It's always like Einstein used to play the violin, and that's
it's because they didn't have Spotify at that time. You know, you have to understand. It's like the only way you had music and you can do it on the go was to play piano or violin.
Well, he also had
learn how to whistle.
I always wondered. I'm pretty sure Einstein today would not have learned violin. He would just listen to Spotify. It's a less waste of time. But he's dead, so we can't ask him.
No, Frank. They had vinyl records and radio.
Yeah, but they sucked. The quality wasn't as good. Anyway, that's my hypothesis.
I think you're entirely wrong. I think it's the fact that he actually played the violin and he didn't.
We can verify it. I know he played it. So it's not something we can verify. Einstein is gone. So I might be right.
Yeah, you could be right. I could be right. But I think it was actually, when he discusses it, he said it's actually playing the violin.
I guess that's another way I'm creative. I'm just a contrarian. If someone says something, I would have to say the opposite. It's also a good way to be creative.
What's great
is an interesting approach to come up with ideas if you want to, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's creative.
Someone will say like blah 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 is a great idea. Like, no, it sucks. I'll do the exact opposite. It's better.
It's also just, but now it's also cliche being a contrarian. You know, you and Peter Thiel. So now
thank you for comparing me to people who know someone people know versus me who no one knows. But I do have the potential. If one day somehow I win the startup lottery, I'll be, you know, be like, oh my god, I'll be able to write books. People will listen to whatever I say. It's amazing.
But the thing is, you've already written a book, and people already listen to what you say. Maybe not that many people, but we have at least 5 people that listen to us on the daily.
That's very true. It's a positive way to look at things. I like it.
Yeah, and us every day. Almost every day.
Maybe Albert Einstein is listening to us, you know.
So,
and again, sorry, I've got the utmost respect for Einstein, but I was thinking about that last week, so that's why it's fresh in my mind. I was like, it's so cliche to be like, oh, he's so creative, he's a genius, and he plays music, and he likes music. But then I was like, to me, I was like, yeah, it makes sense at that time. If you really want to have music on the go, no battery, good quality, that's really, that was his Spotify app.
Yeah,
When
they
yeah,
didn't have Spotify Wrapped back then.
yeah, but also I think the actual. I mean, did you ever you played an instrument, didn't you, Frank, when you were younger?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I mean, I did play, but I
Did you
always
play
learned
the
by myself, which means
trombone?
I sucked. But I
Did you
did.
play the trombone, or you played like the French horn? What
No,
did you play?
honestly, I was singing. That was the main thing I was doing as a kid. And then I was, maybe playing a little bit of piano by myself, like doing techno music on my PC.
I mean,
And
I
later on,
have
I got a guitar. I can play like 3 things on a guitar, but that's about it.
yeah, I've got
It hurts my
like
fingers.
two
Oh wow,
guitars.
an electric one, nice.
Well, I have
We did
two,
a
right?
New Year's episode with music
But I
instruments.
mean, if I have to reflect on your question, I guess at the end, I'm not creative at all. I'm like some kind of machine or robot or engineer. Like my creativity is just first principle.
I have
Yeah,
my
exactly.
pins.
No, I've never been good at art. Art is the one thing I suck at.
Well, maybe that's your missing link.
I think
So
art is useless. That's why I'm like, but it's that's fine.
No.
I like, yeah. So I like fashion. I like art. I like all of
Mm.
this. And again, back to my cliche thing of the cliche of Einstein and everything. I was just saying it's funny because we're not on like a one of those what's your friend's Dan Martell podcast where he's like, let me tell you the 10 cliche billionaires who've made it after 50, or like it's not too late, or like
I'm happy
because
for Dan. He's doing good. Like,
no, it's fine. I'm just saying it's kind of funny because you always know which cliche thing people are going to mention. But it would have been it'd be funny if we were like, well, Travis from Uber, he used to play the fiddle in the back of the Uber and yell at people, and that was
no,
his
actually,
great
Travis
talent.
was well known for being, I think, really good at Nintendo Wii on the ping pong thing.
He was really good at tennis
Mm.
or ping pong, something like
He was
that.
he was number one or number two. It's a little bit like, I love these stories. The same with Elon. It makes me so happy he plays Diablo and run 3 companies because now I don't feel bad. I started to play Indiana Jones. Oh my god! It's like, maybe that's what brings
But
me creativity.
Getting
but he
closer to
doesn't.
success.
But he doesn't
So
really
good.
run 3 companies.
Sure. He
They
has
have,
money. He hires people. He manages them. But whatever. It's like he plays Diablo and he's number one. It's pretty cool.
yeah, that's good. So good for him.
And I really highly recommend to play Indiana Jones. If you guys listen to us, maybe that's how I
yeah.
get my creativity.
The
This game's
problem.
amazing. I feel like I'm
Well,
watching a movie right now.
I mean, this is what I was going to ask. Now we're getting somewhere. Is you're saying video games. Video
Yeah.
games is creative.
Mm.
I believe they're
Oh
a
yeah.
creative outlet. I
It's how I
mean,
relax. I just go there, kill people, feel
so
better.
I really want to play Indiana Jones, but
It's amazing. You should
but I don't have a PC and I don't have an Xbox.
just buy one.
So I can buy one from Costco and return it. Don't tell anybody. So
Buy a PC, to do AI.
Why would you do that?
Nice graphic card.
why would I do? I mean, I used to do that when I was younger. I would just buy
Yeah.
like
No, but you can.
When Uncharted would come out, I would just
Uncharted
buy
is so good too. Yeah.
I would just buy the PS4.
If you want to play for a longer period of time, why would you
Yeah.
return it? Just skip
Because
it
you
and play
play
every day.
one game.
Ah,
I
okay.
played the game for a week,
Play
and then
once
Yeah.
and
I'll
okay.
keep the game. I just
No.
return
But
it.
again, so good. Really,
So,
really good. Amazing
dangerous
music.
topic for me.
The actors are good. Anyway,
I heard
that's
it's
all I
really
get.
good. I heard it's really
Love
good.
it.
So I was asking that because I obviously have been obsessed with Broadway recently. I've seen like 4 or 5 Broadway shows, and I've never seen that many Broadway shows before. And I was like, oh, it's kind of cool to see. And these are like the ones with the original cast, and I just thought it was cool for some of the shows, the way the production was, the way they handled certain things, and the professional quality around it, and then the presentation. And I was like, okay, that I would like to apply, and whatever I do next, I want to take some from there and here because it bleeds into what I'm working on. And that could be from presentation of like pitching to investors, that could be to product pitching, that could be the way you say things.
Yeah.
And I think it's important as an influence.
But to me,
for sure.
to me, the thing I'm thinking of is to be careful, right? It's to me the analogy is similar to a startup versus a big company. Like when you're a startup, you don't know what you do, you don't know how it works, blah blah. And if you're in the business of Broadway, your job at the end to have a good Broadway show, the same as when you have a good kitchen, is every day to have the highest quality, and it's almost always the same and always perfect, and everybody does everything. And to me, it's the same as when you do a startup at the beginning, you don't really know what it is. I mean, we all know that. And the game, as you become to build a big company, is to get to become the expert, to have like management process, to have something that repeats itself all the time. Your Coca-Cola, you're going to launch a new drink, you press a button. So to me, what I hear is you have to keep in mind that to get to that, they must have had a lot of crappy show, a lot of tests, a lot of messiness,
We do
and you're
off-Broadway
seeing the end result of that. And so it's fine to apply that, but don't apply that as a way to think of the early stage. But you can apply that if you acquire something and then you want structure it. Sorry, I know you know
Not
that.
to be that complicated. Go ahead.
Yeah, I never said I was going to apply it as the early stage. I would say you can take elements of it, and it's an inspiration of where you can get to in a vision.
No, I know
But
you know. I just want to be sure our audience understands it.
yeah. No, don't take a finished end product and say, that's how I'm going to do my startup.
I mean, you can get the inspiration from that one story that one example. Every time you order something in Macedonia, like many years ago, through the internet, or you buy it. No, but it's just I'll get to the socks, but they deliver it in a very poor packaging. It's not even packed. You just get the product, which is kind of boring. You order a product, you get the product, that's it. But when you order something in the US, you get a bunch of papers, documentation, some sort of nice greeting card, personalized, whatever, nice packaging. It's like full experience. So I did that with the socks. I took ready example thing that worked here and applied it in the sock business. And I think that was a big not a game changer. It's not a huge thing, but people started opening the box. They started sharing unboxing videos. We put like little papers to delight them, and then some stickers, nice stickers on the order of the socks. So it's like we took this already pre-built example of how it works elsewhere, and we applied to something specific very early on.
Yeah.
And it worked right away.
No, and these discussions, again, reminds me less about the startup, because the startup thinking is fairly recent, even in academia. But it's really what happened in the 70s and the 80s, when the Americans got inspired by the Japanese quality management. Steve Jobs being very famous for that, and that really, like, how do we get the best quality on everything down to every detail? So that is a good spirit, I agree.
Yeah, so that's probably what I was mentioning more of, versus being like, let me make my startup perfect from day one. It's never perfect. Even when you run a big company, it's never perfect. But I agree, the end product of where you're getting to when you're starting should be something that every time you deliver, it's consistent.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to improv shows, it's a little different. With improv,
might be good, might not be good.
It's probably more like a startup. So
yeah, the improv relies on talent less than structure.
Also, the expectation when you go there, it's like different sort of expectation.
Yeah. Well, I think they both rely on talent. If you're thinking about like the best artists in the world, best performers, they need to be talented to get into that realm and to be consistent.
But wasn't something with like the kid of someone famous who sucked, but everybody else around was really good?
It was Kanye West's daughter in the Lion King.
It's a good example.
It was such a viral video.
But everybody else around was so great that it really
was amazing.
It really upped the person in the center. It was like,
And she's like, I can't wait to be king. It was like so off.
Poor kid. I felt bad for her.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, to me, it's an illustration that you need talent, but you need less talent when it's super structured and everything is like solid. It's.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know a few CEOs that are outrageously famous, well-known CEOs that have made a lot of money, and I've spent, some time one-on-one with them, and I was like, holy shit. And I was like, these guys know less than I know. And I'm like, how do they get in this position? And people ask me that question, and I think, well, it's politics, timing, and once you get into the corporate machine, the majority of big CEOs come from inside the company. Once you're in that machine, it's like,
we should launch a second podcast, and I should bring back my past life, but we should all dress with ties, and we call it the messy middle for managers. When you're like, how did you deal with politics? What happened when someone is trying to pull a project out of yours and take your budget away? I'm like, yeah, that's what I did, and that would be funny.
We could do like one fun episode like that, because I don't think we could do one.
All have ties. We'll wear ties, and we'll be like, But the other thing I was wondering, did we do an episode on luck? Because to me, it's still the major factor, and I think it's always interesting.
In the past, I'm not quite sure.
We did, but we can do it again next week. How about that? We should do one more on luck. That would be fun.
Because to me, it's still.
I don't know. You might not be able to do it on next Tuesday, knowing you, Frank. You might have to do it. I
don't know. I'll tell you. Maybe traveling.
We'll figure it out. So my second question was what again?
The inspiration? No, the amount of money that you need to make, or whatever the amount.
No, it was my question.
No. The first question was what do you feel like retire?
Yeah,
versus
the first
not?
question
And,
was retiring and sort of like this.
would you get bored of what you do? Blah blah.
Not once you get bored,
Mm.
like once you've accomplished your financial goals and actually
Yeah.
solved that, or your material
I mean,
goals.
my very short answer is I don't know. I never achieved that. So I'll tell you after. I can, it's always the thing of like I can think about it, but it's like I never achieved that. So if one day I do my $100 million exit, we'll do another call and I'll tell you what I'm doing. I can only think of it, but I
He
wouldn't be a
won't be
bad
on the
person to
call.
ask. I haven't done
Teddy, he won't be
that.
on the call. He'll be like, "Oh, who is Gabriel? Who is Teddy?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't
gotta
know
go get a
you."
sauna.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I would say I know who's Teddy and who's Gabriel. You talk to my assistant.
But I don't have time for that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll say book something for next year and
So
send
okay,
send Teddy
here's
and
the
Gabriel some chocolates.
so like my five or six friends that have a lot of money that are like billionaires. I don't have to book them through assistants, and I'm like, I like that. The ones that I have to book through assistants, I'm kind of like, you know, it's the same people that I think that probably would have their wives and daughters and parents have to also have them booked through assistants. I know some people like that too, and I'm like, so it's not me. It's just everybody has to book through the assistant because there's no direct contact.
It's going to be democratized. Everybody will have their AI assistant fairly soon, so it's going to be fun.
Okay, avatar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna fucking mess it up every time. It'll be like, what time zone to put? Oh, put it on this. It'll have some hallucinatory time zone with some random call, and instead of Frank, it'll be like, it'll be Frank Huang instead of Frank Noriat or something.
Yeah, no, it's going to be asynchronous. We'll have calls, but we don't have to do it at the same time, and then the AI in between will figure out what we wanted to say. It's going to be great.
What's the point of having AI to analyze calls if they can just agree between them their own protocol and stuff?
Yeah. They're not smart enough. They're not smart enough. We need to input them some stuff.
Why do we even need to exist once AI is that smart? I don't understand. No, really.
Yeah, this is different episode.
I know.
It's true. I mean, if AI becomes somehow smarter, even though right now it looks like it's hitting a plateau of some sort,
so
but let's assume it does. AI will be better than us at launching businesses. Well, we'll have no need to be founders or CEOs or whatever.
Okay, that's another episode. So,
we answered all your questions.
Yeah, those are my questions. I mean, and I said this was going to be a short one.
Do we have a question for Gabriel today? We should ask him.
Yeah, ask me a question, please.
Where are you in your messy middle? Because you said you're very excited lately, like you feel you're close to a breakthrough. And I'm curious about your process, about how do you go from close to passing it? What lesson learns do you apply, or how do you force yourself towards or do you still wait? Or I don't know. I'm just curious about. I know you're close. I know you feel you're close, and I just want if you can share a little bit about what have changed.
So what's changed is I have income.
No, it's big. That's a big deal. So the income allows you to relax, right? It's like you don't have to think about survival.
And I have a year of runway, so that's changed a lot. So I feel very close to committing to when I'm ready just to commit. I feel that from a timing perspective of what's going on in the world, it's a great time to raise money for early stage, but even it's a great time to raise money for any idea that I come, because it's going to have elements of what's hot, and that's what I've always done. So if I would have raised money this year, I probably would have been in a position to have to raise more money at the end of the year, which wouldn't have been great. So I'm glad I'm coming into a cycle where it's going to be an up turn. So I feel good about that.
That would be my second question for you, because I was watching the NASDAQ curve and it looks very scary. It looks like, holy shit, like, should I sell everything? Is it a bubble? But at the same time, I think the reason for it might just be the economy, might be the inflation, maybe a lot of things, but it still looks way more solid than 2000. Like, there's real revenue, there's real structure. I mean, and I know I'm building on it. I know Teddy's building on it. I know we're thinking about all the things, and it doesn't feel like bullshit. It feels like a lot of opportunities right now.
It feels like a lot of opportunities. There will for sure be a correction, like always. If there's a correction, you ask the right question: should I sell? Should I keep? Long-term equities usually just do fine. So if you're in equities and you have to, I mean, where would you put that money is my question, because you're not going to go spend that money for living. So you could put more in Bitcoin. You could put more like you have to have an idea.
You sell everything. You go to Vegas and you like everything on red.
I mean, my mom asked me this question last week. She's like, should I take some money out and buy an apartment, in Manhattan or Italy? And I'm like, well, it just
Italy, yeah.
depends. I said it really depends if you know, want that and if you're really worried about the returns. Well, the market could lose 20%. And I'm like, so if it loses 20%, and you could have put that cash in the house, in theory, the house value is probably also going to go down too. And she goes, yeah, but I said, and if you amortize it out over the next whatever 10 years, you'll probably make all that money back and more,
Hmm.
historically. Now that might not happen with all the
But you
debt
give
load and everything. I'm
Yep.
not an
no,
economist.
your answer is very very standard or wise in a way, but the way I look at it right now, and I really wonder if I'm crazy, is I think we're far away from a bubble. If anything, I believe everything is undervalued. I feel like this thing could 10x. And
Yep.
I wonder if I'm crazy. You see, like I wonder if myself I'm not bubbling, self bubbling. That's why I'm curious to have other people's point of view. But
You're definitely self-bubbling a little bit. So
I kind
but
of
again,
share the
like
same
if
opinion. I
car
don't know
if car
why.
self drive, if medicine
Mhm.
invent new stuff, like that's like
I, I
crazy.
I tend to be more optimistic about things, and I'm not sure if it's again me or Frank in this case, but I feel like it's everything is very undervalued right now. Like the potential is huge. There's so many things that are just we're scratching the surface, not just technology, but like in many aspects
Yeah,
in
well,
science
what?
and.
But let's say it's undervalued. There's a lot of industries that are going to be
Mhm.
extremely affected by it. So the
yeah.
question is,
But we're not in Nasdaq. We're side of it.
right? Okay, so you're only talking about Nasdaq right now.
Yeah, sorry, that was
I
me.
don't know. I mean,
Oh yeah,
my
everything else is gonna be fucked. I
tax
mean, like
listed
if
on
you're,
Nasdaq, so let's go, baby, let's go.
I mean, if cars are driving themselves, planes are driving themselves, boats are driving themselves, medicine,
Robots
like
doing
like
work and
medicine, like 100x, like now find the right medicine right away for pretty much any sickness we have. Robotics VR, like it's like the concentration of power towards like a couple of companies who are just gonna absorb everything else. It's
Yeah, that's bad because
it
then
is bad, but at first it's good and then it becomes bad.
I mean,
But it's
like
like
it's the
it really feels like that right now. It feels like the potential is here. After that, if the potential doesn't come, okay, maybe evaluations are okay now because there's still work to do with what has been done. But if that shit keep going, wow, really
and
living an
if
amazing
there's
time.
only yeah, but here's the problem. If there's only a core few companies that are actually leading the edge on that and are so outsized compared to the rest of the companies,
Yeah,
then you get screwed because getting access to those companies is going to get harder and
yeah,
harder and more
Mhm.
yeah.
expensive.
But
And
actually, I can answer the question you asked before, even though I'm not there. I mean, I would say anyone who has a lot of money, a lot of time with their 40s, you're freaking insane if you're not doing anything right now.
well, I
It's
agree.
like
No, no,
you're like, I'm
that
gonna
that
retire. Oh, yeah, we're in 1830. You know, it's like people are starting
Yep,
to
you
build
already
like
lost
big
with that
building,
mindset.
the the steam engine, and you're like, great time to retire. Like
yeah,
what? No.
yeah, but I don't think that was the point. I think the question, I think it wasn't retire, it's what do you do? And perhaps it's not, your goals should not be financial anymore once you hit your financial goal.
Mhm.
I'm not
Because
sure. Again, I mean, we all know that, right? It's like the goal is never financial. Financial is a tool, and so even if your goal is not to make money,
well,
you'll still end
I
up
think
making
some
money if you
people,
do
I think
something good, right?
no, but I think some people the goal really is financial. Like they want to make,
Okay, okay.
whatever, billion
But
dollar.
let's assume your goal is not financial, and you build something of value that grows really fast. You'll be fine too. You know.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
exactly. But the conversation was like threefold. It was what happens when you hit all the money? What's your motivation? So you have a new motivation. What happens when you accomplish the biggest thing that you think is possible, and you might not be able to do whatever's next, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you actually figure that out? And I think, like a guy like Teddy's favorite, person, Brian Johnson, um, figured out how to like mess his way into longevity because I think he was always interested in longevity, but he sunk a shit ton of money into like that brain
Mhm.
helmet thing that he was working on and probably lost all of his money on that. So he's figured out now how to make a shit ton of money by being a influencer and selling
They call
products,
salesman.
and it's pretty cool. And the olive oil is delicious, by the way. It's our sponsor this week, other than Sunset Boulevard. Um, but
On the state of South Carolina.
I wanted to end on sort of like this point of where I am in the messy middle. I feel like I'm in the good part of the messy middle, which is I'm no longer afraid of spending more time being in the messy middle to get to the thing that I want to work
The
on.
enjoyable phase.
It's the enjoyable phase. And
Delusion.
probably.
I don't think so. I think the feelings are real when you
I'm kidding, but I
feel
had
that way.
feelings.
That's definitely a good sign.
But like I don't know. Like I don't know. I can't predict the future. No, none of us can. But like, yeah, I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close. Like I've hit the things that I needed. Like I've got the runway now. I've been able to confirm to myself that I could do this again. I can confirm that people will pay me for my stupid knowledge. No, I shouldn't say it. For my many years of gaining this knowledge of knowing how to raise money and connect with the best people in the world. Um, and now I just got to pick anything, and anything that excites me will probably be worthwhile to work on because I know how to get to the right people. That's my positive.
Awesome.
That's my positive answer to it. So, yeah, talk with me tomorrow. Maybe I'll be very depressed about it.
No, you're fine.
Travel
Yeah.
helps a lot, for sure.
Well, travel helps, but also money helps. Like,
It's a good conclusion.
yeah, like money helps a
No,
lot.
I agree. Money is like part of the reason right now is difficult for me, and I guess for all of us is yes, that's the.
It's all
You
of
still
us.
like, yeah, you need more money and you need like some kind of stability in the future. You know, that's been on 1 month or 2 months. And to me, it's always like, you know, there's this phase where it's really stressful. And I feel like number one, it's normal. Like most founders, you know, go through that. The one who succeeded and the one who didn't succeed, like at the end, it's like it's a tiny difference. Like it's you know,
Very
there's
small.
no. To me, that's why I like working with entrepreneurs who maybe didn't do gigantic exit, because you pretty much get the same value from, and then you get the one who did the big exit to be your investors.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
agree. I agree. I 100% agree with that.
yeah. No, and again, if you're in the messy middle and you have zero cash, then like don't worry, take a job for a year or two, you know, bring you know, build back some cash and until you feel good, and you're on, it's not because you're taking a job and you're doing something that doesn't mean you're an entrepreneur, unless you're full of cash and then you don't decide to be an entrepreneur, then you're maybe not an entrepreneur. Maybe you converted to an investor, and that's fine.
I mean, if we talk about cash, what I can say is this year, not running a startup or a project, I had Tectalia and I did this consulting. I made more money than I've made since I did Gamma.
It's a well-known thing, right? Which is, if you want to make money, never build a startup. It's the worst way to make money. You're statistically and in practice, you're not going to make money. That's what I'm saying. Like, why do we do that? I think there's one of the first motivation has to be the freedom. You know, it's nice to be, let's build our own stuff, let's do our own stuff. It's a big element. And it's not that you don't like not having freedom. It's just, it's very rare to work with someone who's going to be your boss and you'll be like really inspired by and be like, oh my God, I totally agree. And this is great. Most of the time you're like, oh my God, such an idiot. And so I think there's that. And then the second one is this unstoppable need to fix something that no one else is fixing for some reason. And after a while, you're like, okay, if no one does it, I have to do it. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a duty, the entrepreneurial duty.
Yes, absolutely. And what I'm kind of learning with consulting is you have an entrepreneurial duty, but your entrepreneurial duty is on certain hours, and and it should not keep you up at night. So, and you know, I hate to say that, but I also think it's important because you're not getting equity and you're not a co-founder, and you should know the limits, and you're getting
it's a contract. No, I agree with that. Totally.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how it should be. So,
yeah.
Who's got the quote this week?
I pass.
Teddy.
Joker.
I did it last time.
Oh my God, you did it last time?
Mm-hmm. The one with the Lenin one.
Okay, so
I have a quote from Le Roast. Oh la la, Teddy, your code is very bad. So we'll send you something maybe next week.
We'll share it in next episode. The Angry Frenchman.
Okay. So I will find a good quote.
Let's find a quote from Broadway. Or from one of your show, maybe a song. Yeah, what songs do you remember the most? Tell us your favorite song. from the thing you watched
You sing
100 times.
the theme song.
Sunset Boulevard is my favorite song from the show. But
So
actually,
what's the song? Yeah, give us some
no, no, no,
lyrics.
no, no. My
You
favorite
watched it
song,
7 times. You don't even know any of them.
I do. So,
So why do you watch your phone?
because I'm going to tell you exactly the one. Well, my favorite quote from Sunset Boulevard is when the main character comes into the room and the writer's there. He's like, "Wait, don't I know your face?" And he says, "You're Norma Desmond. You used to be a big star." And she says, "I am a big star. It's just the movies that got small."
It's a great
Yeah, I
quote.
like
There you
that
go. I like
actually.
it.
Yeah,
That was a good quote. Perfect.
Yeah.
nice.
And so,
A lot of post-exit founders like are big stars, but they feel like has been. It's
yeah. Yeah. And
it's not
so,
that they used to be a big star. They are big stars. Just the startup
yeah.
world got smaller.
Yeah. 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 So, what
Good.
the direct quote is, "I am big. It's the pictures that got small."
Mm.
Good. It's a good one.
Gotta watch the
So,
show.
yeah,
Good.
you better watch the damn show. You live in New York. You live down the street
I
from,
will.
and you can get last minute tickets for like $30-$40.
I mean, Teddy
So,
Walsavaga was so bad.
no, Teddy likes Moulin Rouge, so he'll like Sunset Boulevard. So,
If,
Yeah,
yeah,
I like.
if you want to watch show that was a good one.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
So
liked.
far.
I did like Charlie Chaplin. They did a good one on Chaplin. Also like
yeah, probably.
the Mormons.
The Moments,
That
that
was
was
really
the
funny.
first
Book of
one I
Mormon's
watched.
hilarious.
The funniest
That's
so far,
hilarious.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that one is the
Uh,
funniest. I watched this one, Oh Mary, which is about Abraham Lincoln's wife, Mary Todd, and like how she's a drunk and was a cabaret star. It's all made up. It was funny. Would I go see it again? No. Until next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.